Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Football Friday, the final one for this season because there's only one more game left. As always, Sean Higgs here for the Winner Circle Sports Fan Podcast, joined by Marc Lawrence and Victor King. Super Bowl action, the Star Trek guy. I was looking for, before we got on here, we're looking for you don't have a Star Wars shirt or something? I'm like, I really don't have a Star Wars shirt. I got OG Luke next to me, 1978 Luke Skywalker. I got him here.
Love it.
The only thing I have was a St. Patrick's Day, may the luck be with you, with the little Grogu Baby Yoda. That's it. That's
I thought you had like maybe a Baby Yoda plush toy that you sleep with at night, Sean. Oh, something like that.
That'd be great if I came in and have a whole Boba Fett outfit on, like one of the Comic-Con guys. Although we'll go off the rails right from the start here.
Right.
The people, when they have those things dressed up, like when you go, I've never been to one, but I see them on Twitter or wherever, and they have people just dressed up as like the battalions. I'm like, good for these cats getting all into it. Like, that's
right, you see them at the conventions. You see them when they do this cosplay type stuff, costume play. I
really want to go to some kind of Comic-Con because I know it's just not comics. They do like the Star Wars era and Star Trek and any kind of like Walking Dead, any kind of TV show has a following, and you get to see a bunch of actors. Or I know a lot of people for the anime and comic kind of crew of it. But I don't know, man. That'd be something pretty cool to see a bunch of like people dressed up instead of spending $10,000 to go to Disney World and watch the Force Awakens show down there. I can go to Comic-Con for $150 and get my photo taken with a bunch of maniacs who want to dress up as stormtroopers and Ewoks.
Right.
So an Ewok costume. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, all right, listen. This is the final Football Friday. Does not mean the Friday lives are going to stop. We'll roll next week. We'll be talking college hoops, NBA. Who knows? There may be draft. I have no idea. But we will be here. We will be here doing a show. Guests will come and go. They want to come and talk hoops. These gentlemen are more than welcome to come in. Probably more see them during football season. That's Victor, I don't think he's going to jump into Major League Baseball totals. I don't think that's his really strong point. Maybe it is.
I haven't done it in a few years. The juice not kind of worth the squeeze. A lot of research involved, and we generally did pretty well on those for a while there. But it's been about 3 years since we bailed on those. And besides that summer period, we're really busy down here. Exactly. Mark will tell you, preparing for all of our football publications and getting them all in a row in the summer. So there's plenty to keep me busy still.
Yeah. And even, I'll be doing baseball, and who knows, maybe I'll do some kind of rando live baseball shows here on the Winner Circle YouTube. But, like just the rule changes. Like I hate the phantom runner on second, nonsensical crap they do. Like just totally, instead of losing by a run, you're looking at the game's 2-2 going to the top of the 10th, and all hell breaks loose, and you're losing under 7-5. You're like, what is going on here? So yeah, baseball's got some work to do in my book. But
stuff we did in softball, Sean, runners on second base, things like that, just to move the game along.
Yeah, but that's when we're 40 years old, Mark. Yeah, we got to get home to our families. You're professional athletes. Play the game. I mean, a couple years ago, they went to 7-inning double headers. What are we doing? This is like as bad as the NBA dropping to 10 quarters to keep people interested. Are you a peak performer? You're an athlete. Play the game. Why do we got to keep babying and dumbing this down? The diehard people who are fan of the sports do not like these changes. I know. I mean, they just want to cater to degeneracy right now. Like, oh, we got to keep people interested. No, you don't. If they're not fans, they're not going to be interested if you start changing the rules and screwing your base fans of sports.
Well, what separates, Sean, let me ask you this. What separates a diehard fan from a purist? Because that's where purists usually grow from, is being diehard fans. And, we being those in different various sports. But, I would say I'm a diehard baseball fan, and also now a purist in the sense that with all these rule changes here, it's sort of disheveling.
I mean, I get you. Go ahead.
Multiple sports too. Multiple sports. You see what's going on, and you mentioned the baseball, the completely changed kickoff rules in the NFL as well. You mentioned it again. They want to reduce NBA games 8 minutes a game, right, from 12-minute quarters to 10-minute quarters. So
can they do that, Victor? Can they really do that?
What?
I mean, what about all the records, the scoring, the yearbooks?
Absolutely. All the records that are tied into an NBA game lasting 48 minutes, 12 minutes a quarter. So it's ridiculous, but it's occurring in all sports.
Why? These are I'm told that Michael Jordan and Earl Campbell and Wilt Chamberlain and whoever you want to insert from the 60s, 70s played against nobody. They played against vacuum salesmen and door-to-door guys selling encyclopedias who worked at hardware stores. And yet these peak performers who are personal chefs and ice machines that they sit in their house and so on. They can't. The NBA season, they can't play 2 games a week. That's what it comes down to.
Right, load management, right.
Games. They can't play 2 games a week. They got to sit out.
It becomes an in vogue thing for them too, Sean. It's always like, being late, fashionably late. That was sort of their shtick. Well, sitting out games is also part of their shtick because it goes to the point where, the more popular you are, the more you're deserving of being able to sit out a game. And it's sickening to see these benches, and you look up and down the benches and LeBron James isn't there and Kevin Durant isn't there. It blows my mind. Like I said, being a purist makes me want to pull my hair, but thankfully I still have some left.
At 40 for LeBron and KD at 37, if these guys at that age, if you're going to sit, I get it. The problem is at 26 and 27, these guys are playing 65 games. Come on.
Well, how do you want to take your family, your 3 kids and your wife and yourself, and because LeBron James is coming to town and you get all geeked up for the game and you go there and you lay out $500, $600, $700, whatever it is, and he's not even dressed.
It's terrible.
Yes.
And at least that's one of the rule changes I kind of like, where they said, you know what, you guys, you can't sit out on the road. Unless the guy's on the injured list for a substantial amount of time, they can't sit out those games. They got to sit out at home.
I wasn't aware of that. They can't do it on the road.
So they have to sit out home games. Let your fans pay. That's terrible. And again, we get back to diehard and purists. Like, you have fans a game. Like, baseball is my favorite sport. I love it. You want to go a bigger basis so guys aren't colliding? Okay, I don't really think that affects the record books. We're going to go put extra runners on base. That totally affects RBI, hits, runs, ERAs, all types of nonsense. We got a pitch clock. It's the same thing like we talk about here all the time with we're going to instant replay and slow things down to nanoseconds. How many plays over history would be totally changed? We might have different Super Bowl and World Series champions over a course of a season for stuff like this.
Well, is it utilizing technology, for what it is to make the right call? Is that part of the equation? Should we do it if it's available, or if we do it, are we overdoing it? That's the question.
When you slow it down to like boom, boom, it's like, well, look at that. You see it touch the tip of the ball touch there. And that's all fine and dandy. But the problem is there is no continuality to it. Something's a catch. Next week, it's not a catch. It's a touchdown. It's not a touchdown. And I don't talk about like, we could spot the ball. We've seen over and over, what is a catch? 1 week, a guy catches the ball in the end zone, takes 3 steps, goes out of bounds. Not a catch, Calvin Johnson. And then a guy catches something, clearly not catches. They can't get it right. So if you're going to do stuff like that and use technology, at least they're not consistent game to game. Even in game, they can't be consistent with technology. I don't know.
Hey, Victor, I'm not an engineer by any means or way, shape, or form, but isn't the easiest way to solve the dilemma of is it a touchdown, is it a first down, is to put microchips inside the football and on the field?
Well, here's the problem with that. I did read an article about that about a week ago, and the difficulty is the shape of the ball, the oblong shape of the football. Where you insert that microchip in the football. If it was perfectly round or perfectly square, obviously the surface area, you'd be able to cover everything. But the difficulty is that is a very unique shape, that oblong shape of an NFL football.
But wouldn't it go in the tip of the football? Wouldn't you imagine that's where it would go?
That's where you would think. But again, in the article, they mentioned there are so many different physics and mathematics involved that is not the obvious or number one solution.
Gotcha.
And I'm not an engineer either. I'm not wearing a Star Trek red shirt, which would indicate I'm from the engineering department. I'm wearing the science shirt. Okay, so let's get with it.
Was Bones an engineer or a real doctor?
He wore the blue shirt along with Spock because blue signifies science/medical in Star Trek. It was the red shirt people from either engineering or security that you saw dying off always at the beginning of a Star Trek episode. The guys wearing the red shirts, you know.
I learn something new every day. There you go. Every show.
That's the key. You knew if you got a guest gig on the show and they threw you the red, here you go. Here's your jersey. Like red, huh? I guess.
Right. I do have one of those red shirts that's all kind of like burnt up and it looks like I've been destroyed. But I don't wear the red shirt very often.
Somebody hit you with a laser.
Right.
All right. We're going to spin back to the Earth here and out of the Star Trek orbit. Again, hit the like button here on the Winner Circle YouTube channel. I even mentioned the YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, notification bells here. Again, free pick videos daily here. Live show. We're still going to be rolling lives through college basketball conference tournaments and March Madness. You don't miss out on those. GamblersWorld.net is our sponsor, the host site where you find all of our premium action. And we go through this all the time. We got a leaderboard. You see how everybody does. All the sports are there. NFL for one last dance. College hoops, NBA, and hockey, all posted. 3 738 packages. Guaranteed we show you a profit or credit you back and you find who's ever. We have a leaderboard. So, like I say, win or lose, always the truth. You see how everybody does. I come in here. Hey, I did good yesterday. Hey, I did bad yesterday. You could see it yourself. See, all the plays are shown after the fact. Perfect. Daily pass. Great. Maybe not for a Friday when there's 7 college basketball games, but on a college basketball Sunday or Saturday when there's 165, probably a good day. NBA, hockey, loaded up. Today, I'm going to recommend a 3-day pass because you got the Super Bowl. So you're going to get today, loads of college action tomorrow, NBA, hockey, and then the Super Bowl. We're going to talk some props. Maybe some guys put them in their packages. Who knows? But they're there. And one last, we got to run it. I think we have, I don't know if we're going to, I'll put it in the chat as well. We'll make a little banner to put in the chat. Player prop bingo. All you do, follow Gamblers World on X, Gambler_world. You follow, you comment what team you like, and that's it. You're in to win $200. And then you got the little bingo card, what we're going to cheer for. But it's a free shot of $200. Why? It costs you nothing. Pick a team. Here's an update. You got a wife, you got a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a kid. They got Twitter. You do the Eagles. One does the Chiefs. You got a shot at winning. I mean, I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas to you here, people. Why wouldn't you get on board for a free shot of $200? But people won't. They come in, they don't even hit the like button. So why would you want $200? I'm trying to entice you. I don't know. Maybe I'll go Gibby style for Carly, take off the shirt and wave it around. No, yeah. Mark's like, who the heck is Gibby? I tried to explain to him off air. He thinks I'm insane. It's all right. Any iCarly fans in the chat, people with children, or you're just 20 years old, you know what I'm talking about. All right. Eagles, Chiefs. We got to – no, you know what? Before I even get to that, I got to get a little rant out of me. What you guys think here?
Okay.
We had player awards last night. Josh Allen MVP over Lamar. Lamar was first team All-NFL, 30-some votes in that. It comes to MVP voting. He loses. He had more passing yards, more rushing TDs, more passing TDs, less interceptions, beat the guy in a head-to-head matchup. How are we crowning a Josh Allen MVP award? I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, head-to-head, the guy beat you. He had better stats across the board.
Well, Josh Allen is, I think, a lot more relatable to the average NFL football fan than is Lamar Jackson. I think Lamar Jackson's upcomings, when he got into the league, there were a lot of faults, and a lot of people picked on those faults. And he's, to his credit, worked his way through that to the level that he's in the MVP talk and the MVP race. But I think, Sean, going into this vote here, I think it was known that, one, I think it was, I don't know how it ended up being as far as close goes, but they were saying this could be as close as any vote. And whoever won it would deserve it, and whoever didn't, you can make a case till the cows come home for either player. So
right. Yeah.
I understand exactly what you're saying here, Sean.
One more thing I would add is that Josh Allen during the season had more He had more games in which he set an NFL record this season than Lamar Jackson did. If that means anything, he got his name into the history books more in this season than Lamar Jackson did. But like Mark just said, it's going to be a controversial topic regardless of the outcome.
Right.
Well, it's just bizarre that the one guy gets the All NFL award from the voters, right? Who's first team All NFL quarterback? It's Lamar. It's Lamar. He had 41 passing touchdowns to 28, 4 interceptions to 6, rushing yards, 915 rushing yards to 530. One team was 13-14, the other 12-5, and he has a head-to-head win. Better completion, more passing yards attempt, passing yards per game. He's beat him in everything except for the 13-4 record and a 12-5 record. And he won All NFL first team. The same voters.
Right, and I don't believe Josh Allen even made the Pro Bowl. Isn't that right? I think Lamar did, but I don't believe Josh Allen even made the Pro Bowl for some strange reason. But somebody's making an awful good case for Lamar Jackson, that's for sure. Maybe a sour grapes case, but a good case nevertheless.
Listen, Lamar, and he's won MVP before. Is it just kind of like it was Josh Allen's turn, and we're going to give it Allen? He's had a nice career so far, and you know what? He had no – if you're going to say Diggs left and he still put up good numbers, okay, that's fine. I mean, he had 40 total touchdowns. He had more rushing touchdowns, but okay, you're a quarterback. I'm told that running is why Lamar's not a good quarterback because he runs more, right? But yet you're giving it to a guy because he had 15 or 17 rushing touchdowns and the other guy had 8. Help me here.
Ask me, Sean, who I would have voted for the MVP, if you will.
Who would you vote for, Mark, if you were MVP?
Glad you asked, Sean. I would have voted for Saquon Barkley, personally. Philadelphia would not even be sniffing playing this particular weekend in the Super Bowl if it were not for him. The numbers he put up were jaw-dropping this football season here. And isn't the most valuable player supposed to be the one player on the team that means the most to the football team? I understand Lamar Jackson likely does, and so too does Josh Allen. But you take Saquon Barkley out of the Philadelphia Eagles football team, and I think they barely make the playoffs. But no running back usually ends up winning the MVP, so my vote would have probably been squashed anyway, nonetheless.
Barkley,
he finished third.
A lot of people like Barkley there, Mark.
He didn't even receive one first-place vote. He only got one second-place vote, Saquon Barkley. Kind of weird, considering that the first, 50 first-place votes all came to the 2 AFC quarterbacks who finished number 1, number 2. So not surprising that he finished third, but the amount of votes, only 120 total points, while the other 2 guys got 362 and 383 total points, respectively.
Yeah. But and it comes down offensive player of the year, though. He got that hands down.
Yes,
that's again, if you're going to have a quarterback award, like it goes back to like you're going to pay these guys the money. They should have their own. It should be not even a count against the cap because these guys go off to make $45 million. How the heck, like you just said, these 2 guys get 380, 360 votes. He gets 120, and he was clearly the difference maker on that team. He's a great. I mean, the guy rushed for 2,000 yards. You don't get an MVP vote.
Yep.
And I'm not even a Philly fan. I'm not a Giant fan in any stretch. I'm not even a Saquon Barkley. That's totally disrespectful. Now, is he the MVP? I don't, he should get votes. It should have been a little more than 0.
And you have to love the selflessness about him when he opted to sit out the final game when he could have broke records as well.
Yes.
He's all about being a team player. So you would have voted for Lamar Jackson. I get that, Sean. Victor, who would you have voted for?
I would have voted for Lamar Jackson as well. Yes.
And again, that's more just bias because you always go to the quarterback, right? Because that's the face of the team. If you got a crappy quarterback, hello, we see teams with no quarterback. What the ramifications are on that. But I'm more adamant for him over losing to Josh Allen. If you would have told me Barkley would have won, I would have said fine, good. I would have been like, damn, I should have probably bought into him somewhere in the season. I didn't have a Lamar MVP, but if you're telling me that Allen was better. The voters told you when they voted for All NFL first team that Lamar was better. Josh Allen didn't win that. Who's the best player in the league at quarterback? Oh, it's Lamar Jackson. He doesn't win the MVP.
Well, I'm a little bit disappointed that neither Lamar Jackson's Baltimore Ravens or Josh Allen's Buffalo Bills didn't make it to the Super Bowl from a selfish standpoint. And the selfish standpoint being that teams who have the league's MVP, the quarterback, have just laid a mammoth egg in the Super Bowl. They're just incredibly bad. I'm talking like 3-15 to the spread bad, okay? But we didn't have that chance this year. We ended up with Patrick Mahomes instead of Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. So just be patient. It'll come. Perhaps we'll wait and see if it happens next year.
But there's still some great Super Bowl trends that do particularly fade the favorite, and maybe that's where we can start, Sean, as we talk about it.
Yeah, let's head into some numbers here. So let's we got so many banners. I came in here early with Jim, and he was already putting some banners together for just the total game here, stuff like that. So we'll just have the regular lineup here. KC 1.5, total of 49 here for the Super Bowl. You can make cases. Again, I have this game already posted on the website, so I'm going to try not to give away too much of what I like here, so you can go get that at Gamblers Roll. Same with these other gentlemen. I'm sure they have sides and totals posted for this. We're going to play keep away a little bit. If you're smart, you can probably read between the lines of where we're going with this one. But I'm not going to – anybody's going to ask me, you can make a case for either one of these teams. What's there to say right off the bat? Kansas City.
Right, either one could be favored. You're right, yeah.
I look at that team as they have one loss on the year. I don't even count that last game of the season. Nobody played. They're a one-loss team. I know they don't cover spreads. Well, in the playoffs, they cover spreads. That's all we've been doing for the last 5 years. I think there's something ridiculous, 14-3 or something like that. Spread-wise, 17-3 straight up in the playoffs. You got them at a short number here. But here comes the whole Eagle crew, right? We should have won the first one if we didn't fumble and they scored a defensive touchdown. We were winning 24-14. Yeah, well, if pigs fly, well, I don't know. I guess I'd be having flying pigs for dinner, pork chops. The fact of the matter is that Andy Reid is just a great coach. Yeah, he was down to your Eagles at 10 in the Super Bowl. You know what? He won. He was down to 10 to the Niners twice in Super Bowls. He came back and won. Down at halftime, down at the end of the fourth quarter 1 minute ago, down in overtime. Doesn't make a difference. That's the team you want to bet against because the other team's due to win and Kansas City's sloppy and not as good. Okay, take the Eagles. There's your case for taking Kansas City. But I think we're going to have a good game here. I think it's a good game. But go ahead, Mark.
A good friend of ours, Jim Feist, also at gamblersworld.net, excellent handicapper, legend, in fact. On our podcast, we were talking about the line on the Super Bowl game, and he said, don't be surprised if this ends up going off Philadelphia -1. It's sort of leaning that way right now. I mean, it's coming down. I think we're speaking right now, it's more 1 than it is 1.5, and it'll probably be pick likely come tomorrow, and we'll see what happens on Super Bowl Sunday. So the late surge will come from the wise guys, and if they happen to like Philadelphia in this football game, you might end up seeing the Eagles go favorite here.
I think the short line is perplexing, not just to the average bettor out there, but to the lines makers as well. We talked about this on our Marc Lawrence podcast on Wednesday afternoon as I went into our playoff database, and I took a look at NFL favorites, but really, really short favorites of 2 points or less. So in the NFL playoffs, when you're favored by -1, -1.5, or -2, like the Kansas City Chiefs are, dating back to the 2005 season, so we're right around 18 years now, these short favorites in the playoffs.
I'm going to say not good, Victor.
6-17 against the spread.
Wow.
Don't even worry about that. 7-16 straight up.
Wow.
So it's basically telling us that even the odds makers are confused as to who should be the true favorite in the game. And again, don't worry about the ATS aspect because the line is so short as it is. You may as well just take the other team to win straight up, and you would have gone 16-7 straight up, dating back to the 2005 season, just playing NFL short dogs of 2 points or less to win the game straight up. Again, it's a weird thing out of the database, and it tells us not only is it confusing to the average sports fan, but even the odds makers haven't gotten it right either.
I love that take, Victor. And, lots of times, more often than not, in our database, our well-oiled machine, I love to look at favorites of less than 3 points. And you'd be surprised at how well the smaller dog, the 2.5 dog or less, does in football games. Basically, a dog of less than 3 points, if you take the home field out, is basically on a neutral field the better team. And they kind of come with a chip on their shoulder, if you will, in a sense like that. And I think it speaks well to what you just pointed out, Victor, here, how bad these dogs of 2 or less, or these favorites of 2 or less, happen to do in the Super Bowl.
Obviously, with these two same teams just playing 2 years ago, Mark, obviously there is a revenge motivation factor on the Eagles, who were winning that game significantly at one point. Let me see here, 24. They were up 27-21 after 3 quarters of that game. Kansas City had that dynamite fourth quarter in which they outscored Philadelphia 17-8 to get the victory in that game. And again, we're talking about short favorites. It was the Eagles who were a 1.5 point favorite in the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs got the outright win 38-35. So maybe the exact opposite thing happens in this particular year. The team with the revenge motivation maybe comes away with the win, who is the underdog in the game, in this case, the Philadelphia Eagles.
So this game opened 1.5. It was 2, sort of like for a half second. You might have saw 2.
Yep.
This game is played in Philly. What is this line? This game is played Sunday in Philadelphia. What's the line in this game?
Well, obviously, Philadelphia is going to be the favorite here. And
field goal?
It may be a field goal, probably maybe 2.5, because you can't give Kansas City points. And,
exactly. Well, that's my point here. So
dog numbers are going to come out. I'd say Philadelphia 2, 1.5 or 2 Philadelphia is what I think, honestly.
And if it's in Kansas City, it's probably a full field goal, right? Maybe 3.5 even.
Maybe 3.5, Sean.
I would say 2.5. Yep.
So when I look at this number opening at 1.5, and it's simple. The public's going to come in and pound the Eagles because it's Saquon Barkley, and they think the Eagles are due, and that's all you're hearing, a lot of Eagle talk. Everybody hates Taylor Swift, everybody hates Kelsey, everybody hates Mahomes, the refs, everything, blah, 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 right? Years ago, it was fine. We loved it. I was like, look at this. They're the new kids on the block. Now they're the hated evil empire, New York Yankee style. They opened at this number. Let's be honest. If Philly opened at 1.5, this line would have already flipped to Kansas City because the early sharps would have been all over Kansas City as a dog. Very simple. This line's going to come in. It's going to come down because it's going to be Joe Public coming in, betting at 1.5. Right? I mean, the sharps. What are the sharps waiting for? To get Kansas City out of pick 'em? What's it? And our buddy Fez is like he wants to lay 105s and 110s instead of 120s. And honestly, in today's day and age, most people don't have the opportunity to get minus 110s. They could lay 120s. That's what they're going to 125s. Are they waiting for a 110, 115 as opposed to a 125? Like, what are they waiting for to pound the Eagles? They're not getting a better number. They're going to take them as a favorite now? No.
Well, the sharps aren't going to lay him as a favorite. No.
Right.
No. But you mentioned Fez, and we brought this up on our podcast as well, and he brought out a really, really good point. He was saying that when you go out to buy a home, you're going to look at all the comparables in the neighborhood because you don't want to overpay. You want to find out what's the right price to bid and buy that home for. Well, the same thing in point spreads and handicapping football games. You compare comparative prices. Well, remember, what would you make, Sean? Let me ask you this before I get there. What would you make on a power rating on a neutral field, Buffalo and Philadelphia? Pick 'em?
Probably a pick 'em. I put Buffalo as the favorite. I think Buffalo's a little better team. I probably have Buffalo maybe 1.
That's interesting. I would go the opposite way. I'd say Philadelphia 1.5 to 2.
I like the Buffalo defense a little better than Philly's.
Well, anyway, Fez's point is that you could argue that the game could come pick. And if it did, explain then why Kansas City was a 1.5 point favorite at Buffalo.
On the road, yeah.
And Kansas City opened up as a 1.5 point favorite on a neutral in this football game against the Eagles. 1.5. There was something lost in the translation there. And the only thing I could justify it being is the fact that people do not want to let Kansas City go out as a dog. Really, being Reed, Mahomes, and the whole like there. So, Just food for
for
thought.
sure they don't want him as a dog. That's 100% they don't want him as a dog.
Right.
I mean, and that's you got 1.5, and it hasn't moved. So I don't understand if guys want the points. I don't know why they're waiting to bet the Eagles. It's not going up. I mean, Kansas City's not going to be laying 2.5s or 3s, but yet it's going to flip to the Eagles just because of the amount of money coming on them. Doesn't mean it's sharp money. Doesn't mean it could be just rich people and Philly fans or whoever saying I'm betting them because I'm betting against. Right, I mean, I'm betting against the NFL being rigged. That's all it's talked about, right? Oh, the ref, it's already rigged. So you know what I'm saying? Like this is the talk, though. You see this nonsense all over it's already they got the refs, and he gets every call. If that's the case, why the hell are you talking about taking Eagles? You should just be taking Kansas City and betting your children's lives on it. It's already written down, right? Why isn't this a 3 if that's the case? Because it's not rigged or scripted. Two teams are going to play. Somebody's going to make a mistake. Like Philly did in their last Super Bowl versus these guys, and that'll be the game. Who's making a mistake? Is Mahomes going to throw an interception in a Super Bowl and lose his team late? I've seen him come back and win multiple times.
That's the thing, Sean. These two football teams have been nearly spotless as far as turning the football is concerned. I mean, at the end of the season, through the playoffs, heading into this game. Kansas City turned the ball over one time last week, and I think that broke a streak. Victor, correct me if I'm wrong, like 6 straight games they didn't turn the ball over, Kansas City.
Right, and not only that, but Jalen Hurts had 4 interceptions in his first 3 games. Since week 5, 1 interception. Since week 5 of this season, 1 interception for Jalen Hurts. Same thing on the other side, right?
Yep.
Well, also it hurts. And this is, you see a lot of it. I follow a lot of, Jersey, Philly, New York guys being from that area. And it's always like, oh, this team, A.J. Brown, this is a run-first team. You're playing it to Hurts' strength here. He doesn't got to throw the ball all over the joint. The reason why they won 14 games is because he's going to throw for like 217, 223.
Right. They took the ball out of his hands. Right.
You're going to get 200 yards rushing out of Barkley and whoever else are going to Hurts running the ball. You're going to have a nice balanced attack. You don't turn the ball over doing that. Good. That's why you're in the Super Bowl. Don't complain, Philly fans, about A.J. Brown not getting the ball. This is why you're here. That's what good teams do. They don't turn the ball over. Keep to your strengths, and you'll win and win and win. Hello, Kansas City. Keeps to their strengths. They got a good quarterback. Doesn't make mistakes. You just win 13 games a year. I don't know. I'll take it.
Well, you check the boxes. You're talking about the quarterbacks. Obviously, Mahomes would get the check here. I mean, he'd probably get it. It'd be about the only guy he wouldn't get a check to would maybe be against Montana, for argument's sake. But look at the coaches here. I think that's another reason that Kansas City deserves to be favored here because of the Andy Reid factor in this game. Not only is he awesome, as we all know, with extra time to prepare in a football game, he's just flat out great in the postseason. So, and he has more experience than does Sirianni. But we call this out on our podcast as well here that the only coach in the National Football League that has more wins in their first 4 seasons than Sirianni is nobody. He leads the league, National Football League, all time in most wins in his first 4 seasons with the team. So he often gets overlooked. Sirianni does, maybe because the fans of Philadelphia bash him a lot. But they bash, they bash Santa Claus, for Christ's sake. So the coaching edge is there for Reid, but I'm just going to say it's maybe not as wide as you think. That's all.
See, I disagree with that. I think it's a gaping Grand Canyon thing.
You do?
Sirianni, he got rid of his assistants. He brought in 2 good assistants. The team responded. It got better as the season progressed. I just feel like, okay, they got wins, but now I got to say, who are you playing here in the NFC? You got San Fran, and really that's it. I mean, okay, you beat Dallas is a choking team. And I know this from being a Cowboy fan for basically my life. They can't win big games. Where on the flip side of that, these other coaches or other teams, like who are the good teams in the NFC? I mean, Kansas City has Cincy, Baltimore, Buffalo. I mean, Pittsburgh's kind of like a sort of tough team. What kind of team? Okay, Detroit had a nice season. They got a coach that's not all that great. What are the elite teams? I'd say the Rams, because I like their coach. I think coaching matters. I don't think Sirianni is that kind of guy. I think he'll make a mistake. If these guys are at each other, it's a tie game going into the fourth quarter, I think Sirianni's making a mistake. I've seen Andy Reid in Super Bowls and in playoff games against Buffalo just 2 weeks ago make the adjustments in the second half and win games. And not just win, I mean, overcome multiple score deficits.
Are you ready to move San Francisco out of the elite category, the 49ers?
No, because I think this year was just a year. It started in the offseason with like contract kind of crap and all that. And I think it just kind of that was always there. And their schedule this year was just wacky. Short weeks. They had a short week playing a team off their bye week. They just had a bad schedule. So it was a compounding
also a tsunami of injuries on that team.
Yeah,
Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, McCaffrey wasn't ready till 3/4 of this season was over. So just a tremendous amount of injuries. Yeah. Impactful players.
It was, but just from the start, just the off-field nonsense, and it just like you said, it started and it was one after the dominoes fell. So I'll see how they respond next year. Again, you can't have that kind of injuries to all your star players and expect to be good. That's just not happening. But no, I'll put them back up. Again, the Rams, I think with their coach, you always got to count them in. I'm not sure about Detroit. And I'll tell you what, Detroit, I'm taking under win totals next year. They got two new coordinators. I think that House of Cards is going to collapse. I don't know how they
Well, you mentioned Philadelphia had two coordinators this year, two new coordinators, right?
Yeah, but you got veteran kind of guys. But that's a team, though, it's kind of built – it's a different mentality because your coach, Sirianni, isn't – Joe Gamble like this guy in Detroit. Like they're walking around like they're going to Super Bowl this year, which a lot of people, me included, thought they were. They had all these home games. You got a dome quarterback playing one game outside the entire season. That's a perfect storm, and it collapsed on you. Again, a lot of injuries at the tail end. How are they going to respond to that? I don't know what kind of heart those guys have. I mean, the coach, they want to go through the wall. Listen, they're a team. I'm definitely not backing to come back and be like, we're going to go 14-2 this year or whatever and have a dominant season. I can see a letdown.
Who was the better team at the end of the year, Minnesota or Detroit?
Man, I think Detroit's a little better. I think Minnesota kind of collapsed on themselves a little bit, pressure-wise. Again, you got new guys and new spots there. But again, you go on neutral against a good Super Bowl coach. I mean, McVay won a Super Bowl. I mean, to everyone, you're going on a place and losing to a Super Bowl winning coach and quarterback with a journey. Listen, Darnold was a journeyman quarterback. He had a great season this year, but the fact of the matter, he was on his 5th team in 5 years after being a top 5 pick. Well, lightning in a bottle. They caught it. They caught it to a 14-win regular season.
And he's likely to be quarterbacking somewhere else next year, as it is the way the season ended.
Right.
They want to go to the rookie. So Sam
How do you feel about that? How about that, guys? He's going to come in and win 10 games, and people are going to be up in arms, right? I mean, how's he going to do better than a 14-4 season?
True,
because that's what he has to do.
Yeah,
to improve on that. Yes, exactly.
Anything less, would you be? I mean, if you're a Viking fan and you go 11-6 or whatever the heck they're going to do and be a wild card team, are they going to be happy? And they get eliminated on the road again?
No, because it would be 11-6 with what would have been the coach of the year in the National Football League. But I still think that Sam Darnold's not going to be quarterbacking for Minnesota next year. I think there was a wide gap that developed at the end of the season, the way he really had that deer in the headlights look in his last football game. It was sort of like the damn Darnold of old. And McCarthy being that number 1 draft pick, I think being healthy here, they're going to give him every chance possible to take over that job.
Is Darnold going to the Giants?
It could very well be. He will find a starting gig somewhere, and he's going to get the bag as well, meaning he's going to get some bucks, big-time bucks.
Yep.
Let's
talk about the total of the Super Bowl.
I was going to say 49. This was a 49.5. It's actually, I saw some 48s out here, too. So it's come down a little. I see some 48.5s here. And
we're showing 49, but you're right. There are actually more 48.5s out there.
There's more 48.5s here.
So that's a half-point bump to the under.
Victor, we had a 38-35 Super Bowl with these two teams.
Right.
Eagles are clearly better than they were 2 years ago. And again, Kansas City, I can't say they're worse because, they're back in the Super Bowl again for the 5th time in 4 years, whatever the hell they are. But you had the Eagles put up a 50 spot in the game. You got Kansas City playing like they usually play, right? I mean, this is the most disrespected one lost or two lost team ever, I think, because they don't cover, they don't put up big numbers. All they do is win. And yet everyone is screaming here, it's over. It's so easy to take the over here. And yet it's come down again. You think this would be a 51 or something with these two offenses, the way people talk about them, and a team putting up 55 and then 30-something in the snow and just at will. Again, huge runs for Saquon and Hurts, maybe skew those numbers a little bit. But people don't look at a isolated run. They just look at the total. They look at a box room. They look at this guy had 3 touchdowns. He had 48 and a half. I mean, this just screams under to me here. It screamed under to me at 49 and a half.
Well, most of the applicable situations that I queried from our playbook postseason database point to the over in this game. Before I start rattling off the numbers, you got to put a big yellow caution flag up there. And I say caution flag because we got a game here with not one, but 2 teams. 2 teams are notoriously good at that extremely long, time-consuming offensive drive. Philadelphia took a page out of what the Niners used to do well in the last 2, 3, 4 seasons, and that is you take a drive on offense, and it lasts 15 to 20 plays on offense, and you're content getting 2 to 5 yards per play on that offensive, and the entire drive can take up to 10 minutes, up to 11 minutes, up to 12 minutes. And sometimes you may only get 3 points out of said drive. So, again, both of these teams are fantastic at that long drive that generates a lot of plays, generates a lot of time, that keeps the other quarterback off the field and can keep games very, very low scoring. That's got to be aspect number one, and it's probably one of the reasons why the line has come down. With that said, guys,
Victor, what are the chances that both of these football teams fall out of that game plan where, they're not going to be time-consuming drives? You said both of them are those monsters that do just that. What are the odds that both of these teams will fall out of that and get up and down the field? I can
see that happening only if a team is down by multiple scores.
There you go. Right.
When you're down by 10 or more points, you tend to quicken up the pace on tempo. That is the scenario. But again, from the database, guys, obviously the last 2 Super Bowls both went over the total, 60.0 points per game. Last 6 Super Bowls have gone 2 overs, 4 unders. Last 10 Super Bowls with an over-under line of less than 53 points have gone 8 overs, 2 unders. That's 80% above the total. You mentioned the fact that Philadelphia scored 50-plus points in that division win against Washington. Again, from the database, 9-1 to the over. Any road or neutral site playoff dog who scored 40 or greater at home in the playoffs the previous week, 9 overs, 10 unders, of course, that applies to the Eagles. Again, more numbers from the database. Any playoff game in which both teams have a winning percentage of 800 or higher, like in this game, since 2012, 9 overs, only 1 under. Last 2 seasons, indoor playoff games have been very high scoring. The games in the Superdome, Caesars Superdome, New Orleans. Last 2 years, playoff games indoors, 6 overs, only 1 under. The last 5 Super Bowls played in New Orleans in what was then called the Superdome, now called the Caesars Dome or Caesars Superdome. 4 overs, only 1 under, 55.8 combined points per game. Again, almost everything in the database is pointing to a fairly high-scoring game. Here's the thing that kind of blows me away a little bit. And we take a look at implied score based on the point spread and the over-under line. Right, KC favored by about 1, over-under around 48.5 to 49. So basically, the implied score is like KC 25, Philadelphia 24. So both teams are predicted to score 24 or more points, right? So again, this is from the database. In all playoff games, when both teams score 21 or more points, there has been 133 overs, only 11 unders, 92% of these playoff games over the total when both teams score 21 or more. When both teams score 24 or more, again, like is implied in this game, there's been 94 overs in the playoffs. Only
Has there been any
unders.
unders? How many?
Two,
Two.
Mark. 2 unders. That's 98% of these games have gone over the total. So if both teams get to their projected score of 24 or more, the over basically has a 98% chance of winning. So if you think both teams will get what they're predicted to get, then your bet is there in front of you. And the database says play the over. But again, I caution because all it takes is 1 or 2 of these really long, time-consuming drives, and you're basically screwed if you bet the over.
Well, let's sort of snap the rubber band stat that you threw out there about the totals, Victor. If they score 21 or more apiece, which I think if you ask the average football fan, will they do that? They'd say yes and yes. Right.
Yes,
exactly.
they would, yeah.
Yes.
I took both teams to score over 19.5 points. It was minus 125 I took.
That's a nice one. You got a nice one there.
Yeah, so that's a fair one. And I grabbed a Mahomes under 5.5 carries, rushes. Now, this one here is interesting because I'm like, 5.5 seems really low, right? And I see 5.5, and that tells me that this is going to be a Eagle win. I look at 5.5 rushing attempts for him is a low number, and that was normal. That wasn't juiced anywhere. That was a minus 110-ish, I believe, like a normal kind of thing here offshore. It wasn't a crazy juice. Let me look at it real fast here. Let me see if I can find it. I got all these freaking props. I got to hunt them down here. Mahomes. Yeah, it was even money, under 5.5. Like that's considering if you think Kansas City wins, he's going to probably take at least a knee or two, right? And you're telling me he's not going to have any time he's going to take off to evade a rush. You need 6 rushing attempts.
So did you say over 5.5 or under? Sean?
I took under. It was even money because I was like, this. It looks too good to be true to take an over in this one. Like you'd think he's gonna, if your mindset of Kansas City wins, even if you're an Eagle fan, well, you look at that number and be like, all right, if my bet's losing, he's gonna kneel at least once, perhaps twice, right? And you're telling me he's not going to run 3 more times in the entire game?
Right. That is one of the most bet props this week is
5.5
over the rushing attempts for Mahomes. Yeah.
Yes, the over is. That's why I'm going to be different and go under because
that's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. Yeah.
So I look at that one. I'm like this, and it hurts because I like the under. Right. I told you, give me like a 49.5. Give me the under on this one. It's not a 48.5. But I look at that, and that tells me that this is going to be him passing because it's passing attempt is 36.5. That's not Kansas. He's throwing the ball 37 times. This is a shootout. This total is getting into the 60s if that's the case. If he's throwing the ball 37 times, this game is played into the 60s.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, Sean, there's one thing we haven't hit on, and that's another factor in the football game that maybe a lot of handicappers will hiss at. Maybe perhaps a lot of their wives will applaud, but we have the Taylor Swift factor in this football game here.
You're not a big Swiftie fan?
Am I a Swiftie fan? I admire her. I'm not a fan by any means, but I really like the way she carries herself and all the good things she does. But the fact of the matter is the 20 times she's gone and seen her beau in person, Kansas City's won 17 of those football games, 5-0 in the playoffs. How many people you think are going to bet the Swift factor in this game?
I would switch it to the factor that Mahomes is 17-3 in his last 20 playoff games. I'd use that angle of it instead of taking the Swiftie side of it. I think it's more Patrick Mahomes than Taylor Swift showing up.
I hear you.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are some props out there, some of those more exotic props that are tied into the Taylor Swift aspect. Of course, us sharp guys here, we're not touching those, right? We're not playing the color of the Gatorade after the game. We're not playing what Kendrick Lamar's playlist is going to be at halftime. We're going to leave that to the other guys, right? But let me know when you want to get into the props, and we got 1 or 2 here, Sean, that we think we got some meat on the bone. That's for sure.
Well, let's get into the props. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to say one thing. I did years ago, I think it was Eli when he was in the Super Bowl versus the Patriots. I think it was over a 1.5 that they'd show his brother and they show his family in the stands. So I took an over on that. And I don't even know if it cashed. I think they showed him once, and that was it. Like I was like, how the heck? I'm not sure how it turned out, but that was one of the stranger ones I did. I'm like, they're gonna show this guy's family. Like, why wouldn't they show Peyton Manning and Archie Manning and the family with Eli playing? So that one I could get into. I can't go how many times they're going to show Taylor Swift on the sideline.
Right, leave those props to for the squares. Betting on the coin flip, betting on how many times they show President Trump at the game. Leave that to the squares.
The one Taylor Swift prop that I would like to know, though, that I don't think anybody's got out there, is how many times will we see her without a drink in her hand? I think it's been never,
Yeah, right.
I don't even know. I'll be honest. I got to. My daughter's got a bunch of friends coming over. I think I gotta somehow get the VPN working because I don't have the regular TV. I gotta get I gotta go buy something to watch the Super Bowl because I'm not watching it.
There you go. Look at our scroll here at the bottom of the page. Will Taylor Swift wear a Chiefs jersey? Yes is a 10-1 favorite. There you go.
That's what we call stealing from the book, right? When you lay 1,000 to win,
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna hit the comments real fast. We got a few in here, and then we'll move on to some props here. Stop you saying hitting the like button. Thanks for popping in. Philly Kenzo, Eagles win. I'm shocked. Philly Kenzo likes the Eagles. Guy named Philly. Easy 3-peat, no competition whatsoever. Line up for a 4-peat run. Kings of Rings Arrowhead. Oh, again, here we go. Some homers coming out here from
Absolutely.
If you haven't already, I mentioned the Super Bowl swears. Go get it for the Super Bowl bingo prop here on the Twitter world. It's in here. Copy, paste it. Go follow on the X. Philly has a better defense now.
We got a tweet from our buddy Doug. Yeah, man.
Yes. Over under on win demon. Over under for each of us, or just the U.S. in general?
Right. His question mark is from Doug Upstone is, what is your over under on wings eaten for the Super Bowl? Wings.
In my house, there'll be a lot. I can tell you that.
I mean, it's in the millions, isn't it? The prop's usually in the millions.
Well, let's just go by how many of you yourself are going to eat, Sean, on Sunday.
I'll probably have 2 dozen.
Mark?
I know I'll have at least a dozen, probably a dozen and a half.
So we're going to say the over-under is probably around 18, maybe. I'm going under for myself, maybe 6 to 10. But that's because we're loading up this week on what we do for the Super Bowl now for the second year in a row is we order one of these fantastic charcuterie boards. Smoked meats, cheeses, crackers, all that great stuff. So we got one of those coming from that company that we were watching on Shark Tank, Bordery.com. So that's my delicious Super Bowl meals. I'm going to be grazing on a charcuterie board for 3 or 4 hours. That's for sure.
What's it called? Bordery?
Bordery.com. It's charcuterie boards that they ship to your house. And in fact, I just got a tweet from my wife saying we just got our Super Bowl Bordery board. I'll put it in the fridge for you, Victor. There you go.
Nice.
Oh, well, let's see. Shop boards. Let's see. Maybe, here we go. Medium. These are kind of tiny.
Oh, no, they're big. They're even the small one. They're big. And we're talking classic, fantastic, again, smoked meats, cheeses, artisan cheeses, soft.
Oh, they got a whole Super Bowl one here.
Yeah, that's the one we're getting, the Super Bowl board.
Limited quality for delivery this week. I wonder if I could get this. You think it'll be here by Sunday? It's Friday afternoon.
Maybe if you order the next hour or so.
Where are they out of?
Bordery. Where are they out of? I believe they're out of Texas somewhere. I think they might be your area, man. They might be Houston.
You can go pick it up, Sean.
I'm gonna pick that shit up. Let's go. I'm getting one. I'm getting a large one here.
But
actually,
I got good for you. You'll like it. You will like it, my friend.
They're a bunch of teeners. I can't. That'll be way too much stuff because them. They like our. We do like buffalo wing dip. It's fabulous. Anyway. Like we can
I'm a German guy. We love our cheeses. Us Germans. What can I say?
Listen, I don't mind cheese. My son's like, I just put cheese on like bread and eat it with mustard. He's like, you don't want a grilled cheese sandwich? I'm like, no, I just want cold cheese. It's fabulous.
Victor, do you like Gouda cheese?
Absolutely.
I just discovered that with smoked Gouda. Oh my goodness! I can't believe I went my whole life and didn't try that. It's
without eating that. Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. Yeah, now you're talking.
Right. Yes.
Oh, right away.
I'm sorry. I took us off the engine here when Doug Upstone screwed up the show with his wing question. Sorry, Doug.
This isn't going to get here in time. It's not going to get here.
Oh, Sean's bumming.
I'll have to go to HEB and just get a regular one they got there at the store.
Oh, at the store, right? Whatever.
But now I'm all disappointed. Made in Philly. Here we go. This should be a great comment. Some crazy crap will happen in this game. I see Jalen Hurts gets hurt, and Tanner McKay will come in and win the game from behind. Oh my god,
Tanner McGee. Wow.
That's a Star Trek crap.
Right. Will Tanner McGee throw a touchdown? I wonder what the odds are on that.
Right.
Yes. 70% of bets on the over, and the line is coming down. Under is the play. Eagles win 24-17. Boy, that'll upset a lot of people, 24-17. That's not no great for the 4s and 7s and boxes, but low scoring like that, people be up in arms, yelling.
The weird thing is, despite the fact that the Eagles are the dog, if you ask me which team has a better shot of winning by a touchdown or more, I think it's the Eagles, even though they're the dog. KC wins the close games.
Yeah,
they come from behind in the second half, right?
Yeah, their DNA is the close game.
You're actually more confident that if you think someone's going to win by a touchdown or more, it's actually the Eagles.
I was going to do 2 bets because it was like from a 6 to 11 or 6 to 10, and then 11 to like 15 or 16 point win for Philly was whatever the odds were. I gotta hunt it down. I figure do a little something exact. If they're going to win, it's not going to be it won't be a 1 point win. They'll win by 6 or 7.
Could be.
Right. Or more. Like you said, they'll be the team that wins 24-14 or something, or 27-13 could easily be a score. It wouldn't shock me. Chris says public money come in on KC and the over. Public bets 24 hours before the game. 24. You think they bet 24 hours before the game? I don't think they bet. I think they bet 24 minutes before the game. They're not. Right. Although they're learning a little bit. They're moving a little bit now, betting a little bit ahead of time. They're -2. Wow. He says -2 before kickoff. I say no way. I don't see it going to -2.
I think the game's going to be pick at kickoff, personally. Pick them.
Pick makes sense. People will just buy the 1.5 thinking, not even buying a point. They'll take the 1.5 thinking, hey, if this is a field goal type game, at least I'm getting some kind of point. Somebody wins by 1 and I get a cover. Yeah, so each of us, the Wings. Yes. Right. We're going to crush the Wings here.
There's Doug. Yeah.
I'll eat some extra for Victor. Don't you worry about it.
Thanks.
Updates on Jalen Carter. He was sick all week and missed practice. He'll play. I'm short of this guy vomiting all over the joint. We've seen guys puke on the field anyway. What's his name? Who was McNabb puking, or was that Terrell? Who's puking on the field in the Super Bowl versus Patriots? McNabb, I thought.
Yeah, I think so. I think, Donovan McNabb, right?
Right? Yeah.
Yes, it was. Yes.
We got you covered, Doug. We knew what you meant.
Right.
I think the over-under for wings in the U.S. is probably like 3 million something. Really, I can knock off. More you really want me to get 30, I could probably do 60 during the game. Straight up. I'm
right.
Total barbarian.
Sean, before we wrap it up, let me talk about a prop or two, if I can.
Yeah, we'll say
but number one, this is what's driving the U.S. sports betting market as we speak. Here in February of 2025, we know what people are betting, and it's an epidemic almost. But there are more. It's anytime touchdowns. People love playing these anytime touchdown bets in NFL games. It's almost a sickness. But this is a tweet I got this morning that just blew me away. This is according to Caesar Sports, there are more tickets on Saquon Barkley to score a touchdown than on the money line or point spread
of the game
for
itself.
Both teams combined.
Wow.
Okay, that's where we're at in terms of sports betting in 2025. More people are concerned with Saquon Barkley scoring a touchdown than we are about the freaking outcome of the game. And that just takes my mind, my brain's blowing up here. That is unbelievable. We bet too much on these anytime touchdown props. And again, if I take a look at my current Hard Rock sports betting app, Saquon Barkley to score a touchdown, you got to lay 2-1 odds to score a touchdown. There's still value there. Even Jalen Hurts is a favorite to score a touchdown at -150, -140. Kareem Hunt.
I got a Hurts -125, which
I got something that you'll like even more. Why risk minus 2-1 on Barkley, or minus $1.50, $1.40 on Hurts. Why risk it? Here's what you want to do. And this is where we take a touchdown prop, we put a little meat on the bone, we make it worthwhile, and we attach a very nice long shot price to it. And here's what I'm throwing out there right now is my play on my favorite aquatic creature, and that is the octopus. Now, the octopus, it's unlike anything under the sea, right? It is this totally unique creature. It could be from an alien planet if you took a look at it up close. I love and always been fascinated by the octopus. Now, in sports betting, you're asking, what is the octopus? The octopus is a bet in which the same player, A, scores a touchdown, and then B is followed by that same player scoring the 2-point conversion. He gets 8 points. It looks like an octopus.
Has it happened before, Victor?
That is the octopus. It has happened before. I'll address that in just a minute. But again, it is a player to score a touchdown and then the octopus. You can find this anywhere from 12-1 odds to 14-1 odds. And this is where I'm going to be using some of my player to score a touchdown prop money. And I'm going to be playing on the octopus to occur in the Super Bowl. Number one, guys, the Eagles are tied for second in the NFL this season for the most successful 2-point conversions. They go for it a lot on the 2-point conversion. Saquon Barkley
yes, right,
can score at will, anywhere, anytime, any place. You can say the same thing about Jalen Hurts. We got a shaky Jake kicker in Philadelphia. I'm talking about Jake Elliott, their kicker. He's on shaky ground, particularly in the playoffs. Man, he's gone 2 for 4 on his extra points in the playoffs. He looked shaky on the one that he made out of those 2. When he misses one or the coach doesn't trust him in a certain situation, you're going to see Philadelphia going for 2 at some point. That's another prop out there. You can bet a successful 2-point conversion somewhere around plus 250 odds. Yeah. Another story for another time. But even if Philadelphia misses on a said 2-point conversion, it may cause Kansas City to have to also go for 2 at some point during the game as well. Again, you can find it at around 14-1 odds. Mark asked, has it happened before in the Super Bowl? Yes, but it's only happened one time in the last 23 Super Bowls. Guess what? It was the 2 years ago when these same 2 teams played in the Super Bowl. It was Jalen Hurts who got the octopus 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. We can find those odds, again, 12-1, all the way up to 14-1. But that's how I'm going to take some of that crappy score a touchdown money and add some meat on the bone. Now we're talking a 10-1 underdog or higher. Yes, on the octopus in the Super Bowl. There you go.
Jim, I came in early and Jim was digging through trying to figure out what the octopus was. He's like, we had a banner all set up for the octopus.
Look at this. Very nice, guys. It's perfectly explained. Nice job. Thank you, guys.
The Barkley TD, and this is why a lot of times on the Football Friday come in, I'm like, or on Monday Night Live when I do the show, I say do a 2 TD with these guys, whether it was him or Henry. Why are you going to lay 2-1? The guys most times scores multiple touchdowns in a game. You can get 2-1. You can lay 2-1 or take 2-1. If you think Barkley's going to have a monster game, a lot of people do, right? He's going to score a touchdown. They're going to rely on him. 150 yards is plus 330. He's going to go all crazy. 2 touchdowns is 2-1. How? Can't score 2 touchdowns? I would rather bet 2 touchdowns than 1 touchdown, to be honest with you.
Victor, when you said the octopus, I was going to jump in and say it has to be a James Bond prop. Octopussy. I know you're a big James Bond fan, and I thought this is exactly where you were going to go with that.
Right. That was the name of the one of the James Bond Roger Moore movies was Octopussy, the girl. Yeah. Right. That's right. So there you go. No. It's my favorite aquatic creature, and it just happens to be relevant here in the Super Bowl.
Is your favorite Roger Moore movie a James Bond movie, or would it be Cannonball Run, where he shows up in the Cannonball Run movie?
Oh, he's terrible in those Cannonball Run movies. That is for sure. And another thing is he is the worst of all James Bonds.
All the Bonds, right?
Roger Moore. Of all the James Bonds, he's the worst. Too much humor, too much with the quips. Didn't like him at all. Sean Connery, a real man's man, the true #1 James Bond of all time.
Well, wouldn't that humor in those quips, Victor, be written into the script, do you think?
Oh, actually, it was. Yes.
Yes.
They
right.
intentionally, when they
Made him
brought
not
him
to do
in,
that.
when they brought him in as the 3rd James Bond, they intentionally incorporated more humor into their scripts to take away a little bit of the darker or more sinister tone of the early Sean Connery films. Yes, but they went overboard. They went overboard, and then after Roger Moore, they went back to the more somber, dark James Bond in the 2 Timothy Dalton James Bond films. So there you go.
Overboard, one of my
which are
favorite
both
movies.
underrated. The 2 Timothy Dalton films, very, very good as James Bond. Both are very, very underrated. He was a good James Bond.
It's funny, Timothy Dalton, right? He was like Living Daylights. He did,
Right.
And the other one, he was in Flash Gordon. He was Prince Baron in Flash Gordon.
Was he really?
Yes.
And that thing bombed, didn't that Flash Gordon movie?
And that's fabulous. I mean, besides the fact that it's a great Queen soundtrack. I mean, that alone.
That's the only good thing about that movie is the Queen soundtrack. Yes.
Yeah, come on, man. Flash Gordon, quarterback, New York Jets. Oh my goodness.
And hey, Mark, you got a prop out there, don't you?
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting props. There's a bunch of zeros, goose eggs, ones that have never won or never lost. But, obviously, because they have that track record, they generally tend to be very, very pricey. The one that jumps out to me the most is, will the team that scores last win the football game? And the answer to that is yes. It's won 23 Super Bowls in a row.
Wow.
Which is pretty nice.
Really? That's amazing.
Yes. Probably got to lay some money there, right?
Yep. Last year, when I got into this last year, it opened up at -140 and it closed out at -280. This year, it opened up at 180 and it's already up to 280.
Wow.
So you got to look for a little bit of that, some octopus to go with that, to maybe even that thing out.
Yeah.
Another one that's interesting that will there be a punt return for a touchdown? We haven't seen that. We haven't seen that.
I looked at that too. I saw that. I'm like, you know what? Special teams touchdown? Sure.
23. 23 years in a row, there has not. So, but the one I like the most, I got to say this is just like putting myself into the game as far as the coaches would do. And I like the prop is, will the first play of the second half be a pass? And the answer to that is no. It's not been a pass 20 of the last 23 Super Bowls. And I think the logic and the reasoning behind that is these teams, when they go into the locker room at halftime, they readjust their playbook. They have a new game plan. And almost all new game plans start out by asserting the rush, controlling the ball. And the first play you'll see in the second half of a Super Bowl will be a handoff to somebody. Play the no on the first play being a pass in the first play of the second half.
First play, second half, no.
That's interesting that you say that, and I like the idea of you can gain insight by before the game even starts. Play the game in your head. Figure out what the game script is going to be. Figure out what the game flow is going to be, and you can potentially gain some insight if you play the game in your head and kind of anticipate what's going to happen. And that's an interesting one that we'll take a look at, particularly once we get to halftime and see what the odds are at that time as well.
Well, Victor, other than your octopus, any other props that you're looking at?
That is the main one. The only other one that I've played thus far, and it's kind of tied into Sean's, is I'm not playing Patrick Mahomes over his rushing yard total. Because again, there are kneel downs involved at the end of the first half or at the end of the game, you're going to get his yardage subtracted in terms of negative yardage. That's what a kneel down does. But I am playing him over his longest rush prop. And that's somewhere around, I think, 12.5, 13.5. Figuring that he's good for at least one 15-yard scramble per game, particularly in the postseason where he really takes off a lot. So I know Sean's got some action tied into how many actual rushes Patrick Mahomes gets. My favorite Patrick Mahomes rushing prop is over his longest rush. We did really, really good in the playoffs thus far, playing the Saquon Barkley over his longest rushing prop. We did well playing Bucky Irvin in the regular season, same thing. So this is the one over his rushing prop that we're playing in the Super Bowl is Patrick Mahomes. We're somewhere around like 13 yards for his longest rush, and we're going over in that one.
Nice.
So I got a couple more here. So I'm going to go Hopkins under 1.5 receptions. He's just and my buddy's like, well, Andy Reid's got him on a back burner. He didn't catch a pass last game. I disagree. I think Worthy's been the focal point now. Push comes to shove. Kelsey's going to get his things. But I'm also leaning this under because I'm going to do a Marquise Brown at 22-1 to have the most combined rushing receiving yards. Now, it's easy to say Barkley, right? Everybody's going to run to Barkley. He's going to get the ball a lot, run. He's minus 240. And this is like his prop. Like, I mean, I'm not going to I don't like telling you.
Because he figures to touch the ball more than any other player. I think that's, yes, right.
So, I mean, 240 in baseball season, I'm not going to tell you to take a minus 135. I'm not going to tell you to take a minus 240. We're going to have some fun and sprinkle for some big paydays here. That's to me what the props are about here. So a 22-1 for Marquise Brown. He's been getting some targets. Only needs one big catch from him, and I think it kind of blows into the 120, 130 range. I think it's worth a shot at 22-1. Now, again, the Barkley fans are going to be like, he's going to have 125 yards rushing alone. We'll see what happens. I mean, guys get hurt. You don't know what could happen. He could. It stymies it, and this game is a dead under 13-10. People are like, what happened here?
Right. Or KC on defense might totally sell out and take Barkley out of the game.
Yes.
So they might totally do that. Yeah.
And then again, and the point of that is, then you look at AJ Brown. You look at Dallas Goedert for catches. Like he's a prime guy to look at. The tight ends overlooked for their receptions and their yardage props because both of these teams give up the middle of the field, and you got two pretty good guys to catch the ball right there. I did grab into that fact, Victor. Dotson over 1.5 receptions. Over a half a reception. It's minus 135, but I think we're going to spread the ball out here. He's going to be under pressure. They're going to throw Spags is going to throw stuff at him. I think you see a lot of guys catching the ball here. I know there's one. I was trying to scan through looking for it. Like total guys to catch the balls on both teams. I'd look to go over whatever it is, 6.5s. I think we see a lot of guys catching the ball, right? There's no tomorrow. Somebody's open. He's going to wing it to him. I don't care who he is. It could be the guy's only catch of the game, only time he's on the field because somebody's needs a pee break or something. But over a half for him, I'm going to go for that. Minus 135. It's all right. I don't mind that. And Barkley, I'm going under his longest rush, 25 yards. So I don't think there's the big blast coming like he has. It's really easy to, you see these 70-yard runs every week. I don't know. I'm going to go under 25. I know you did have him. You had him the one day against was that Green Bay, Victor? You had him, or maybe against Washington when he exploded for his
right. You can't go to the well too often with a prop like that, particularly now that they've adjusted the line accordingly.
It was 18.
Remember, we started that around 16 yards.
Yes,
and it's all the way up to about 25 now. So
25,
and you've got the return to the norm factor working in that as well.
Yeah, you do.
So, all right, we've covered props, sides, totals,
James Bond, Star Trek, wings, charcuterie. We hit it all.
Taylor Swift. What's your favorite Taylor Swift song? We get on that.
Gatorade.
How many over under on the total drinks or time she doesn't have a drink in her hand? That's what I want to see, Sean.
So apparently Taylor's a raging alcoholic.
I think she's heading that way. Yes. Do you see her at the Grammys? It was the same thing at the Grammys, man. Every time
he weighs about 100 pounds. He's got to have 3 drinks and he's stumbling all over the joint.
I would think so. Yeah.
Well, that's our take on alcohol consumption on skinny pop singers. Last one for us all together here for football. Maybe you guys do like draft props. Y'all come in for draft day one day or something.
I'd do a draft show if you guys want to do a draft show. Sure,
that'd be fun.
Yeah,
because Victor, as he mentioned, the young kids today, they have no attention span. We want anytime touchdowns. We don't want full game props. Prop. Draft, there is value. Although on draft night, those numbers will come in here and be like, hey, well, this was minus 140. Now it's minus 330. Those things tend to move. So that's something we kind of look at early. If you're into that kind of stuff, you better be doing that right now and not waiting until the cat's out of the bag for all these teams in another 2 weeks with their pro days and this kind of nonsense.
You know, the young sports bettor, their favorite 3 letters are SGP, single game parlay.
Ridiculous.
Yep.
Best way to go 3-1. Put in that 14 parlay, baby. There you go.
That's the best way to go 3-1. I love that.
I can't. They come in my show. I'm like, what are you doing? If I went 2-1 every day and lost money, I just stopped betting. What am I doing here? Every day I lose and I have a winning record. Don't do it.
It took all of us 3 guys a long time to learn from our mistakes as well, right, Sean?
Listen, I'm a parent. I'm fighting with my son now over nonsense. He's a senior. My daughter. I get it. You think you know everything as a young kid. You don't want to listen. It's fine. You'll learn eventually. We learned. I was a crazy maniac doing stupid stuff. I get it. But just stop. It's not good for you. All right. GamblersWorld.net is where you'll find our premium action. Football Friday coming to an end. It'll be free-for-all Friday, I guess, going forward. NBA, college hoops, baseball, season win totals, whoever, whatever. Come in, check us out. Like, subscribe, notification bells on. There you go for the Super Bowl prop bingo. I will replay and put that in the chat as well. Let me pull down to copy and paste it there to put it in the chat so you could follow us there. You don't want to miss out on a free $200. Go get it. And I think that's it, gentlemen. Premium plays are up for Victor, Mark, and myself for the Super Bowl at gamblersworld.net. And that's a wrap to a good NFL season.
Hey, Sean, I really enjoyed it, man. Look forward to doing it again next year and maybe get back together, like you said, for the draft. That'd be really cool.
An unexpected amount of fun this season, Sean. Thank you guys for inviting me and Mark.
When we were doing it, I'm like, because I know you guys do a show together. I'm like, man, how are they going to relate to me in here? They're used to, you guys. I was like, because you guys could just bounce off each other because you're doing it for so long. So I'm glad I kind of fit in with you guys a little bit, and me and Victor kind of go off the rails more than you. Listen, if I brought up more 50s and 60s music, I'm sure we'd be on par over there. But right. I could go more to the commercial aspect with Victor there, though. But it was a good show. I love you guys. I had a good time, and I've always learned a lot from you guys. I mean,
likewise, right back at you, Sean.
Thank you, guys.
And good luck, everybody out there. Enjoy the Super Bowl, okay?
Have a good one, everybody. Good luck.